And I know Commissioner Cuellar is here, is in the back. Yeah.
Judge, we need to recall the meeting to order.
Sure.
We need to recall to open the meeting again, because you have a quorum when you open the meeting.
Okay, no, I haven't opened it yet. I just said good morning, and
Oh,
I was
sorry.
about to do it when I was reminded here that I needed a quorum.
I think the congressman is calling me. Nobody's gonna put it.
All right, this morning, we're convening our meeting for today for the Drainage District Board of Directors of March 5th, 2014. Commissioner Cuellar, present, Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 2, Palacios, Precinct 4, and myself, we have a quorum. Open forum. We have one person that signed up, Opal Billman.
Good morning. My name is Opal Billman. I have been concerned that my private property has been connected to the United Irrigation District system in order for my lake to be used to collect, hold, and dispense water for the irrigation district to sell without my consent or knowledge. In the review of grants discussed at last week's meeting, the areas of Sherryland and Cimarron were mentioned, which added to my concern. Is it possible for me to obtain detailed plans of the existing systems providing water and draining water in those areas? Who do I call? Where do I go for this information? My property is privately owned. Activity which has occurred on my land causes me to wonder if my private property was included in what I understood to be grants for levee repair. I do not want my private property taken over by the Hidalgo County drainage system, and they have no authority to do so. It is privately owned land. Thank you very much.
All right, at this time, we want to acknowledge the presence of our United States Congressman, Ruben Hinojosa, who is here with us this morning. Welcome, Congressman.
Thank you, Judge. May I have unanimous consent to...
If you care to come up to the podium, that way we can...
The Commission, Yolanda, how are you? Glad to see you. Thank you so much, Judge and members of the County Court. It is a pleasure to be here in my area. I left Washington a few days ago. The temperature was 7 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill factor that brought it to a negative 10 degrees. So I can tell you this is wonderful weather that we have here. But this, the reason that I was on your TV station here in Edinburgh was to inform the community that Affordable Care Act is about to expire here at the end of March for the enrollment period. And that I wanted to leave with you the information, which is both in English and in Spanish, that talks about the big enrollment fair that will take place on Thursday and Friday, March the 20th and March the 21st at the McAllen Convention Center from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day, Thursday and Friday, I repeat, March the 20th and March the 21st. This is an opportunity where we have a record number of navigators, over 50, plus many nonprofit organizations who are trained on how to help people get enrolled. And I'm going to take the privilege of coming up to your desk here and leave you with the announcements which I used on your television station. And I hope that each and every one of you who represent so many people in Hidalgo County, where we have 850,000 people in our population, that they know that this information is available to their families so that they can enroll and take advantage of one of the best programs that equate to what we had in Social Security when it started, and Medicare and Medicaid. And with that, Judge, I thank you and members of the court for allowing me this opportunity to come and pay my respects to you and the great work that you all are doing.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, I'll take care of that, sir.
All right, next item is our consent agenda.
No concerns, Judge.
Everything in order?
Yes, sir.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4,
Item 4 is requested by the board. It's an update on the rehabilitation and/or construction of the river levee at the Edinburgh Pump Station, Irrigation District Number 1. I'm going to do a handout for the board.
Thank you.
Couple of items for the board's consideration. I handed you out a memo that was sent to our office by the judge's office where the judge had met with Rusty McDaniels from the Irrigation District to discuss the status of the Irrigation District Pump House. In addition to that, we do have a meeting scheduled based with the Irrigation District this coming Friday at the pump house. We had sent the email to you all since last week. Hopefully by the end of Friday, we'll have some direction or some comments from the IBWC and the Irrigation District to present to this board next Tuesday. As of right now, we're just waiting for the meeting. I know the judge had his meeting. I don't know what the details came about on that, but the meeting with the Irrigation District, myself, and the IBWC will take Friday morning at about 9:30 over in the Peñitas area.
right, what they did, I don't see them here. I had asked them to come and make a presentation.
I don't know.
But it was a real simple fix that they were proposing. You got the pump house. They wanted to lift that up about 4 or 5 feet with concrete, and then they wanted to connect the pump house to the levees on each side. And he said that would be considerably less expensive than the temporary fixed cost dollars that we were talking about. That's when I asked him to go visit with you, but I did ask him to come here today.
Okay. And it's the presentation the board's been discussing about working, if we can, with the Irrigation District to lift their wall up to 5.5 feet. They've got their structural engineers looking at it, but we haven't gotten an official report back from them. Hopefully, we'll have better direction from them this Friday that I can report to the board on.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead to the next item, please.
Under
sir.
item 5, we have item A, B, C, and D, and it's regarding, and I'll read the first one, consideration and applicable action on the following option items in connection with the financial advisor services provided for Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1. The Commissioners Court took action several weeks ago regarding the financial officers or financial services. We placed this item hoping that the board would take similar action or any other action that they were dealt to deal with on it. I don't know what the action the board took on it. I believe Mr. Valdeguerra's here. Maybe he can explain what action the board took on the financial advisors.
Godfrey, I believe we went out for the request of proposals, right? I think at the end of the day, that's what was discussed.
Okay, sir?
And I think it'd be fitting if we go out and give all those that are capable of doing this kind of job a chance to go out for an RFQ.
Okay.
It allows us to do our due diligence to see who's out there and what the court may decide or the board may decide what's
So
best.
if it's a board's recommendation, if that's the case, Commissioner, I guess it would be item D for the board to consider and take action on.
I'll make a motion for D.
Second.
That's the authority to advertise a request proposal, just like we did with the county.
Yes, sir.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 6, approval to enter an agreement with the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council that pertains to the 2011 amendment to the Region M Regional Water Plan Delta Watershed Development Project. There's an agreement that the Region M would like for the board to consider, and that is for the amending of the plan. And in order for them to amend the plan, they have to go and have their consultant they have on board to provide whatever documentation they're going to need. In the short term, what they're looking for is a $16,000 agreement between the Drainage District and the Region M, or the COG, in order for them to provide those services. I believe everything's in order. We've had legal counsel look at it also.
Move for
Move
approval.
it. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 7, approval of invoice number 4 was FJW Construction LLC for mile 17 and a half road. Improvement project in the amount of $93,546.50. This is part of the interlocal that the district has with the county, with the city of McAllen, with the school district, and it's in your precinct, Commissioner Joseph Palacios, for the siphon in order to extend 17 and a half. This is a regular payment for the actual construction work going on.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 8 with an item placed by the judge's office. It should be reading as, instead of Citizens Advisory Committee report, it should be the Drainage Advisory Committee report. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Jaime Longoria from your office. I believe he's the one that placed the item for the board's
Yes,
consideration.
well, it's the Citizens Advisory Committee that was appointed by the court, and there was a meeting that was held sometime last week, and I'm not sure of the date. You can tell us, Jaime?
Yes, Judge, it was held last week, and we do have Dr. Francisco Bajardo, who is the chair of the committee, here to provide the report for you today. Dr. Bajardo.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge, and Commissioners Court, good morning. The first thing is that I think on behalf of the Citizens Committee, I'd like to thank all of you for appointing committee members. I think I have to say that we wish that there would be greater participation. There are some members from different parts of the county who show up and others who don't show up. So while we are very happy that the participation is fairly robust, we would like to see increased participation. And so I think a lot of this really falls on the commissioners to get your folks to come out to the meetings. We know that emails go out and people are notified. So we just like more participation. We think it's in the best interest of the public, best interest of the county for sure. So the first item that I'd like to say is that the committee continues to meet. And so I think that's a good sign because we've been at this now for a couple years, and I think it is a good sign that there's been a level of energy and momentum that has been sustained. And I think that we're very happy about that. We think that parlays into I think building the public trust, and that's actually a very critical point. We want the public to know what's happening. While we're not completely satisfied that the public knows everything about drainage, I think that we've made some inroads. The Drainage District has certainly been very helpful with informing us periodically about the goings-on. Godfrey Garza has been very good, and his staff have also been very, very good, and so I want to congratulate them for that. So we've been meeting regularly. At our last meeting, we also understood that there's a transition that is happening with the leadership in the Drainage District. And so in the committee would like to recommend to Commissioners Court that we appreciate the historical nature of the moment. And the historical nature of the moment is really about reimagining how we do not only drainage, but community and economic development across the county and what drainage has to do with that. And so while we think that the work of the Drainage District has served the county well for many, many decades, we think that we have new problems in this county that really require new kind of thinking. And so we would like to encourage Commissioners Court to be imaginative with how we think about the new iteration of the Drainage District. How might that look? And we especially want to encourage Commissioners Court to include the committee, but also to include the public at large in the reimagination of this. We are in a new day. This is, we're well into the 21st century with 21st century issues and problems. And so we would like to encourage the court to think about that and to the extent that is possible to include us in that. In the audience is one of my fellow committee members, Joe Phillips, who will also speak to another issue, a recommendation that we'd like to make to Commissioners Court about fiscal issues.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. The committee, of course, which is appointed, each of you have 5 appointees on it, has been meeting for 2 years, excuse me, and most of those meetings have been very well attended. 13, 14, I say very well attended, at least approximately 50%. This last one, it wasn't that many, but I think that group that was there certainly reflects the understanding that they've gleaned from those 2 years of meetings. And one of the biggest issues is a matter of transparency. The bond issue passed overwhelming. It was the work of you gentlemen. It was the work of, I think, some of the Citizens Committee. It was people asking questions and coming out to the various meetings. But one of the things that I think those of us who serve in the committee kept hearing was, we want transparency. We like transparency. We appreciate your coming out and talking to us. In these various meetings that we've had, and this is not just this last one, but including the meetings at which there were 12, 13, 14 people there, the issues of the books and transparency keep coming up. So one of the things that we would, in order to enhance that, we would like to ask you to consider doing is the drainage district, well, the county has an internal auditor, independent internal auditor, obviously appointed by the district judges. The county used to have that over with the drainage district, and Godfrey explained why he felt that wasn't necessary. We respectfully disagree, and we would like to ask the board to consider that concept again. The accountant is a good accountant, but nonetheless, as she pointed out, Godfrey's her boss, and it's just from our perspective of being able to go out to the community when we have another bond issue, which we know we're going to need to do, and probably not in the too far distant future, it would help us to have as much transparency as possible. It's not a wild and crazy idea. You guys operate under it. So that is what we would like to ask, is the same kind of an independent auditor. And again, this is not, it did come up at this meeting, but the idea of transparency and the idea of the books, I've been talking to a bunch of people for at least a year and a half about that, and so have and they've come up to me, and I think they talked to some of the members of the business community. So it is not just something that came up at this last meeting. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
So just to close, Judge, we like the fact that we've been included, and we think that we like the idea that more people be included. You know, in the final analysis, and I think you have voiced this concern before, Judge, that this is about the public trust. And so to the extent that the public trusts you and all of us with what it is that we do with our tax dollars, I think that we can have a better, community and do more things with it. So thank you very much. And again, I think this is not only a recommendation, but also I think a challenge to all of us. Can we be more creative and more imaginative with how we deal with issues of water? And so I think it's, again, it's a historic time, and I think that we can actually capitalize on that.
Doctor, do you want to recognize the other members of the committee that may be present?
Yes, if committee members would please stand. I'm not going to go down the list and read or tell you everybody, but you see them as they stand. This could be the best-looking group in the entire county, Judge.
Well, some exception.
We may have a beauty pageant with these people. Thank you, Judge. Is there anything?
Well, I know on behalf of the court, we want to thank all of you for the service that you're providing. Transparency is a very important issue. The reason we were entrusted in 2006 with $100 million, and in 2012 with $84 million, and maybe another $100 million after that, plus the monies that we were granted by the Department of Homeland Security to construct that border wall, and the hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, it's important that the public appreciate and understand that we are being responsible in the way that we take care of those dollars. And I believe that your committee is helping us fulfill that obligation, that responsibility. Along those lines, I know that you're requesting, your committee is requesting that we I guess, appoint or hire an independent auditor. And I was going to be suggesting to you about some kind of a compromise of a different situation where we would have Laura, who is an accountant with plenty of accounting experience. You know, she used to work as with a county auditor's office before she moved over to the Drainage District. If we could take her where she would not be supervised by the Drainage District Director, but in fact, she and whoever her assistants may be would be able to report directly to the Drainage District Board, if that would satisfy the committee's concern about having an independent auditor. Joe, would you mind coming over, Joe, so we can hear?
Yeah, and this is no criticism of Godfrey or anybody else over there. It's just a matter of independence. And that would certainly satisfy mine. I think y'all would need to come up with some sort of a clear delineation where she felt comfortable. Maybe technically that's the way it was, but at that last meeting, I just flat asked her, who's your boss? And those of you who know me, I'm pretty blunt. That's literally the question that I asked. And she answered equally as forthrightly. She said Godfrey. So however the reporting is, whatever the understanding is, at this point she believes that Mr. Garza is her boss. So if you're going to do what you just got through suggesting, somehow it needs to be absolutely clear that literally the hiring and firing, because that's the most critical thing. Job performance, hiring, firing, all that kind of stuff would be done by you guys, not by whoever the district director is now or in the future.
Judge, if I may comment, I know when we talk about, and I'm all for transparency, all for accountability, all for auditing everything, and I do want to state for the record, we do have an independent auditor. It's Burton McCumber Cortez. I do work with Laura Briones, who's the auditor for the district. I've been the liaison for the last few years, and in no way have I seen any, or even anything that would remotely look questionable. Of course, we're not there day to day. I do agree with the court and you all's recommendations to have her report to the board. I think she's done that on several occasions, independently met with myself and the judge, and we're all for the same thing. I think everybody's heart's in the right place, so I think that we can successfully do this, Judge, where we have a very capable individual there. I think we can independently work with her with the court, and I don't think Godfrey would oppose to that, none whatsoever. I think it's an easy solve.
Judge, Commissioners, Mr. Phillips, and I've known you for many years. I think it's an excellent idea. If the board would consider for Ms. Laura Briones and her staff or whatever is appropriate to report straight to the board of directors. I don't think we've had any issues on it. I think Ms. Briones has done an excellent job of transparency. I believe beyond working for me, she has her fiduciary rights as our financial officer that goes beyond my ability that she was hired by me as a district manager. But I think it's an excellent way to approach this. As far as I'm concerned, I'm 100% behind that. I think it's a great idea. And I don't think it would be a major issue on trying to get those classifications changed over for her and her staff to report to the board.
Laura, as
If I may.
yes, I'm sorry, just a minute, Laura. Commissioner Palacios is going to say a few words.
I'm in agreement that we need to look at it and come up with, if that's the best scenario we can come up with, that's fine. I would support something like that. Along with that, I would encourage the committee to make it a practice, Judge, if they would come quarterly to the court and report on their meetings or absenteeism on the part of the committee members that the court may need to take action on.
That's a good idea. And again, we appreciate the support of the committee's kind of evolved. Y'all all know that. First, it was kind of let's look at the bond issue and study it and then go out and explain it to people. And then after that, a lot of people in the campaign said, well, gee, we hope, who's going to be watching us afterwards? And we said, well, the Commissioner's Court. So, well, with all due respect to the Commissioner's Court, we hope you guys keep involved also, and y'all decide that would happen. So it's kind of an evolving situation.
Right. We do have an independent auditor, but he's an external independent auditor. That's Burton McCumber. He does the same thing for the county. But here in the county, we have Mr. Eufrasio, who is the internal auditor, and that's kind of the role that I see Ms. Briones playing under these circumstances where we have been given the responsibility of spending over $300 million so far, and probably we're going to need to go back to the community at least 2 more times to finally fully complete our drainage situation.
And in that discussion, Judge, I've had discussion with Briones, and she's here prepared to speak to y'all. I've also had some discussion with some of the elected officials on the board of if, depending on the direction the board goes, that the Drainage District Board consider hiring what y'all in the county call a budget officer to run the day-to-day operation on financial issues, and Laura, seen as an independent from y'all, reporting to the board. So we're looking at a plan also to present to this board. We do take heart to the concern of the question that the committee has and the board members have. Believe me, we're not blinded to the issues of questions that are out there, and I think the district's done an excellent job of transparency. But as Mr. Phillips and Dr. Guajardo was saying, we need to take it to the next step. And believe me, I'm all in support of whatever it takes to present to the public to avoid any concerns or questions the public might have. You might not always stop it, but at least you're opening up to whatever the wishes are. Ms. Briones?
What do you think you would need, or how many individuals, if any? Do you need any assistance in doing, fulfilling your role as financial officer of the district?
It would be, I guess, the same people that came over when we initially came in back in 2003.
And who are they for the record?
And of course, it's grown a little bit, but it was myself, an accounts payable clerk, and 2 accountants. Well, actually, it was 1 accountant, and then now we have another one.
So it would not be that we'd be hiring new staff, Judge. It would be reclassifying the staff
Correct.
that works for the Briones, but for the board to consider a budget officer to handle the day-to-day operations, since Laura would be more on the auditing part and the budget officer on the day-to-day operations.
And then the next, well, I'm sorry, an additional person, the buyer also came over.
Right.
A couple of years later. Yes.
I think one of the important things, Judge, would be the approval of payments. I don't know who is approving payments now. My assumption is the Drainage District Director is approving payments. So that'd be something that you got to take a look at. If he is the one approving them, now Ms. Briones is going to be the one that needs to approve them.
Well,
Sort of like what I do in my office. In my office, I approve all payments.
Well, it would
Or-
require an approval from both someone in the drainage side and then somebody from my department or my staff.
So what I'm saying, instead of, I don't know if the Drainage District Director approves payments now, but if he does, that needs to be switched over to you now, since now you're the independent auditor,
And
internal
just for
auditor.
clarification, Mr. Frasco, the process that we have right now, when an invoice comes into the district, and let's say it's an invoice from an engineer, okay? The invoice comes in with the plans from the engineer. Those plans are given to the licensed engineer that is an employee of the district. So the engineer, the employee of the district, reviews the plan from the engineer and signs off on it, okay? Then that invoice is submitted forward to Laura's department, to contract manager or accounts payable. Then she reviews that based on the contract that the engineer has to make sure that the engineer is getting paid properly. Once she signs that, then it goes to Ms. Briones for Ms. Briones to give a final approval. Once the final approval is given by Briones, then it comes to this board of directors that she presents a check register.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the approval of the invoice. The Commissioner's Courts do not approve the invoices, they approve the checks
payments.
that are paid
That's
out.
why I'm giving, Ray, that it's signed off by their department.
Okay. The question that might come up is your invoices, because you're a contractor invoicing the Drainage District. So those invoices, again, she's the one that needs to
And
approve
I
them.
don't sign my own invoice, Ray, if that's what
Okay.
you're trying to allude to.
All right.
In some instances, there are, I guess, different scenarios where I may approve some of the items on the M&O side if Godfrey's not here or if Sylvia's not here, but I think we could distinguish or come up with a list that would delineate to each side.
Ms. Briones, obviously, we presented a format that we were wholeheartedly all supporting. Do you believe this system will work?
Sure, I believe so. I think I've worked well with Godfrey, and I really don't think that there's going to be much change.
Right, and in this case, you'll have the opportunity on a weekly basis to bring any issues or any updates to court members.
Okay.
So the court may be aware. So I believe there's great checks and balances. I think, I'm all for this, Judge.
Yeah, it's good. It's good business.
And we'll present a formal presentation to the board over the next week or so.
And why don't we proceed to take action and someone place a motion on the floor that we create this financial officer
Budget.
position as it be kind of playing the role of our independent auditor, reporting directly to the
Judge,
board.
I would suggest that
we
we
make-
put an item on the agenda, allow them to put the plan together, present to the board once more, so that we can clarify exactly what they're going to present.
Right, that's what I was going to suggest. Go ahead and, I guess, provide a consensus, if not an action,
Yes, sir.
that we direct them to do that so that we can maybe have it there next meeting. Would that be enough time?
Well, I'll make that motion, Judge.
Second.
I think we're far along on the issue, Judge, that we've been looking at it for the past 7, 8 months on the issue, that we'd be ready by next Tuesday to present something to y'all for the board to consider, and as soon as we draft it, we'll get it to y'all ahead of time.
All right, and include the different positions that you're going to need.
Yes.
All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
We have
Thank
no
you.
item under executive session unless the board wishes to entertain one.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Good morning. We want to welcome you again this time to the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court meeting for today, March the 5th, 2014. Present are Commissioner Cuellar, Precinct 1, Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 2, Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 4, and myself. We have a quorum. Please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for simple things like cloud cover that keeps us from freezing, and we always appreciate the moisture. Please, dear Lord, help us always to remember that as long as it's your will, we're willing to go along with whatever. What we have to do is remember that it's your will when things happen. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to live in a country that's free. And we just have so much to be thankful to you for. Help us to remember to always give you thanks. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen.
Any concerns, Mr. Ufracio, with the consent agenda?
I don't have any, Judge, unless someone else has any recommend approval.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Under open forum, we have Opal Billman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before I was sued for divorce in Hidalgo County, I had never heard of a petition for divorce in which the court awarded all of the community property to themselves. With the petition for divorce, our community property, almost 80 acres of debt-free land with capital improvements owned jointly by Joe and me, was submitted to the court for a fair divorce settlement. Decision of the court was that our land was excess land with no value and could not be divided. The court appointed our son manager of our community property and there it sits and sits. All of our property and its income with a court-appointed manager pending in the court. When Joe died, the law dismissed this case. The court won't. One can hear all kinds of scuttlebutt from Mission, Planning, and Zoning, and the Appraisal District. I was told the City of Mission owns 5 acres of our community property, which includes half the lake. Someone named Zuniga owns another 5 acres, the other half of the lake. And some female somewhere owns a lot in the middle of the lake. Sounds like there is no problem dividing our community property and giving it away to other people. Supposedly, these people bought the land 55 years ago, and the deeds are being held in escrow. Well, it's 17 years past time to dig those deeds out of escrow. If these people have deeds, they are as phony baloney, just like the land that has no value and cannot be divided. The court gave our community property absolutely no value whatsoever. Let's get a true appraised value of our land and capital improvements, and a survey of precisely how much land has ever been not just taken over for free, but sold by the owners. Land has history. Since 1942, 72 years ago, the only land sold out of the north 20 acres of John H. Sherry, Lot 184, was very small residential lots on the frontage of Sherry Road. I have been arrested, jailed, tried twice for criminal trespass on land that I have owned for many years and have not sold or received any money for. No one showed up at either of the trials to accuse that I was trespassing on land bought and paid for and owned by them. The state did not produce my accusers at either trial, which is a violation of my Sixth Amendment rights to be faced by my accusers in court. In the trials, my defense was, I cannot trespass on land that I own. I was tried twice and found not guilty twice. Thank you very much.
Next presenter is Fern McClarity.
Good morning. Did I just hear in the last meeting the judge say at least 2 more times you're going to come to the taxpayer for more money for the drainage? I don't know where you think we're going to come up with this money. And then with the new courthouse that we're talking about in the future, it comes out of the same pockets. I don't understand. My question today was on the County Energy Transportation Reinvestment Zone. I don't know how to pronounce their CETRZ. My question on this, my question on this is how much is this going to cost us? And once you get the committee like you did with the rail district, you've lost control of it, it is here forever. I'm sure the deals have already been made, but our question is, what is this going to cost the taxpayers?
Absolutely nothing
Ever.
at this point in time.
And the people that the investment is going on, the property that you're talking about, are they going to have to pay more taxes? The way I understand it, is whatever area your property's in, it's going to bring up the property's value so you can get more people in and companies, and then it will cost the people that are in this particular zone. Thank you.
Next presenter is Daniel Diaz.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
I have two things today. The first thing is to reiterate the conversation in the Drainage District meeting regarding the drainage bond money, but more specifically on the money for rural subdivisions, or what we like to consider colonias, what we call colonias, which back in 2012 we worked together with the committee, and we worked together with the judge and Godfrey to begin promoting and getting the voters to support this idea. And then what I'm here today is to sort of ask the question in what's going on with the plans and the responses specifically from the Precinct 3 area. We did get information about the La Jolla watershed, $1.9 million being spent there, but we had specific recommendations on specific colonias that could benefit from this. The conventional wisdom from what I've heard from the county is that Precinct 3 didn't flood that much, that the Mission area doesn't flood as much as the Delta area, but we do have specific colonias that did have issues that we had recommended and we haven't been able to get a response. Those two colonias are La Joma Meadows, La Joma 4.5, and Linda Vista, which is near the Palmhurst Alton area. So those are two very clear examples of how taxpayers could benefit from some of this drainage bond money that live in colonias. So it's just the issue of transparency again, making sure that there's more transparency on this type of money, because these are some of the folks that need this money the most, the ones that drainage, that when hurricanes strike, when floods strike, they get hurt the most. So I think it's really important for them to at least get the fair response from the county and the drainage district to see what's going on there. We really need that money to really be put and to impact some of these folks. The second thing I was here for is to talk about Lupe's 11th anniversary Cesar Chavez March on the 29th, in San Juan. We're looking forward to inviting everybody from the county to join us that day. The day before, we also want to promote the Cesar Chavez movie that's coming out in theaters. It's going to be shown at the Carmike in Edinburgh. We want to invite everybody to join us. We'll probably be sending out official flyers to everybody. I'm bringing with me today, but we want to make sure we get the word out. 11th anniversary of Lupe, the march at San Juan, by the Bracero mural at the San Juan Municipal Park, so y'all could join us. So those are the two things. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Daniel, I'm sorry, I know it's important, but I didn't quite catch it. You're inviting the community to do what?
To go to our Cesar Chavez March that we have annually in San Juan, March 29th.
That's what day is that?
That's a Saturday.
At what time?
At 9 a.m. It will start at 9 a.m. We're going to start walking at 10 a.m.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for that question.
All right, next item, Eddie Olivares.
Judge, Commissioners, just real briefly, Congressman Ruben Hinojosa had been here a little earlier and given a presentation on the Affordable Care Act and how they're having a series of events to really promote the enrollment in affordable care. As you know, that is the law of the land, and this is an opportunity for many people here in Hidalgo County who we run about 40 to 45% are uninsured or underinsured to have an opportunity to obtain insurance and may obtain medical services through that insurance. They're having a special enrollment event at the McAllen Convention Center on Thursday, March the 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they're having that event available to assist all the people who are interested in enrolling and in taking part. As you know, the deadline for the enrollment is March 31st. There's also an event taking place on Friday, March the 21st from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the McAllen Convention Center. So that will be Thursday and Friday, the 20th and 21st. Again, this is available to all the residents in the community who are interested in affordable care. They can get in contact and go to that event to enroll. Any questions or anything?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item 6A.
Yes, sir, Judge, Commissioners. Good morning. Item 6A is authorization for Judge Ramon Garcia to sign the certification by state or local official of the PHA plan's consistency with the consolidated plan to be submitted by the Hidalgo County Housing Authority for their annual year capital fund program application. Judge, Commissioners, what I ask you all to do is the form has been submitted for the judge to sign. However, there's one last check that was brought to my attention. Our urban county program generally takes a look at this to make sure that they're consistent. So in order to expedite this, we're okay with the plan, but we would ask approval by Commissioners Court for the judge to sign pending approval or review by our urban county program.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Item 6B is approval to process the following invoices as a claim with authority for county treasurer to issue check after auditing procedures are completed by the county auditor. This is for our Xerox machine in our public affairs office. The contract expired, I believe, in October, and we've gone on a month-to-month. We're in the process of determining whether or not we want to change the contract and go with something else, but at this time, we need to pay these bills. Invoice date December 1st of 2013, invoice date of January 1st of 2014, and an invoice date of February 2nd of 2014. Each of those amounts is $233.10 for 3 months.
Move for approval. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Item 7, Mr. Guerra. Not here. Let's move on.
Item 7A, 1 and 2, there's no action to be taken unless there's action to be taken further down the agenda, Judge. Item 7B, I'm going to ask Mr. Palacios to come to the podium, please. I want to give the court, or Ms. Palacios will give a court update with respect to our renovation project at the former administration building, first and second floors. Mr. Palacios.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Honorable Judge, Honorable Commissioners, my name is Alex Palacios, and I am with Prodigy Construction Management. And we have a presentation before you on an update on the Hidalgo County Court Administration renovations first and second floor. I'd like to begin. We handed out a flyer for you. Do you have it? A brochure. Basically, just as a summary, just to reiterate the changes on the first, second floor, just to remind us that these changes took place with an estimated value of a change directive of $8,151 and the general contractor of $73,651 on a change directive in February of 2014. You will see that the general contractor is moving very aggressively, very productive. We have several pictures, but we just wanted to give you an overview of some of the intensity of the work that takes place on a day-to-day basis. Several of the areas are more aggressive than others, with the metal studs going up, sheet rock, saw cutting, as we've mentioned before. But I'd like to go ahead and introduce a topic that we brought to you the last time, some of the items that we're addressing. We brought to you what we call the access control hardware. This is a topic that we've been having coordinations with the judge's office, the district attorney's office, and in conjunction with the executive office. The first and second floor were coordinated. What you see in red are item-specific doorways, pathways for security purposes for the first and second floor. What we have before us is what we call hardware, access control hardware, which is the lower right-hand corner, the push buttons that you see throughout the county, the scan cards, etc., and your typical door hardware just on what you see like that upper corner on the right-hand side. Basically, we have an allowance that we've been entertaining as per plans and specs of a $70,000 initial hardware allowance, which you see right there. The general contractor, of course, through his process, he submitted a proposal of $129,000 for the access hardware materials only. There's a $30,000 additional hardware that we took from 88 Construction Company with an additional $9,000 for the installation. That puts us about a $98,000 over budget on the $70,000 construction allowance. We believe that this is not acceptable at this time. We're working with the contractor to try to see how we can rectify that. The next slide is that we asked the contractor to go back and revisit this item. He then entertained a company, AD8, Alpha David 8, out of Harlingen, Texas. The hardware and access control came down somewhat, of $68,000, another estimated $30,000 with a $9,000 by D. Wilson, which kind of puts us at $37,000. That's still, we thought that it was still not acceptable on behalf of the county. What we in conjunction with the executive office, we contacted a company, Alpha L3 company out of Palmview, Texas. We were able to coordinate the access control labors and material for $27,640, with an estimated $37,000 for materials only on the hardware, with the additional Wilson construction of $9,000, which puts us at $74,440. That brought us a little bit over $4,400, and we feel that in working back and forth with the general contractor, we're trying to save the county money, and we feel that this is something that we can work with. AL3 is a company that the county has worked with before. So we plan to introduce this topic with the general contractor to see if we can try to minimize that expenditure of close to $98,000. And this is a viable option that we recommend that we will move forward to try to get us the standard and typical hardware control issue.
Alex, if I may ask a
Sir.
question. So we're not jeopardizing the integrity of the units. These will work. That the contracts are saying, and the DA's office, and everybody that's going to be using this, whatever you're speccing here is suitable for the need.
Commissioner Palacios, that's a good question. We've been working with the contractor closely. Whatever is plans and specs, what was purchased by the county, will be provided verbatim exactly, just with a possible different player.
Okay.
So we are getting apples with apples, Commissioner Palacios.
I thought the county had approved a contract for a certain dollar amount. So you're saying we're going to go over?
It is an allowance, Mr. Eufrasio. An allowance allows the latitude that the contractor can pick and choose. We're not married to this individual or this subcontractor per se, because it is an allowance. And the contractor has realized, and he's working with us to try to bring that dollar value amount. Our allowance, if you see before you on the snapshot, we have a $70,000 allowance on the hardware. We believe that we should not exceed that by $100,000. Therefore, that's why we're over $4,400.
I thought you said it's going to go over by $4,000, right?
Can we?
That particular item?
On this
Yes,
item?
we can, but we need to bring it before the Commissioner's Court for approval.
So you're going to have to, I guess, take it out of another allowance because the county already approved the contract for a certain dollar amount.
We intend to either bring it to you as a form of an allowance or as a form as another change directive or a change order. I'd rather digest 4,400 because we've gone this round and round. We're spending a little bit too much time on beating this dead horse, and I don't want this to cause a delay. I'd rather come and present before the Commissioner's Court a 4,400 additive than an $98,000 or $89,000 change. That's my plan.
Is the quality of the material still going to be there?
Yes, sir. Along the lines as Commissioner Joseph Palacios mentioned, the quality is going to be there. There is no shaving in quality or anything as far as the product.
Alex,
Sir,
the original amount was how much?
the hardware allowance original was $70,000, Commissioner Tito Palacios.
What is the difference? What is the difference in cost now from the original estimate?
On option number 2 is $4,400.
No, at the beginning,
It is it is on,
98,000?
yes, sir.
98,000.
It's $98,000 difference over.
maybe I'm dumb. Probably, I lost the election. But you're going from 98 to 4,000, and there's no impact on the integrity of the project.
The quality.
No, sir. We're dealing with a vendor on the alternative number 1, the company that is out of Houston, Texas. I cannot really question them as far as maybe they're charging for extra travel, maybe they're mailing, their phone calls. I do not know those specifics. I cannot ask a contractor for those because that's overhead and profit. But what I can tell you is that we are comparing apples to apples, specs per spec, and we will get the quality equal to what we're asking for.
I'm still having a problem trying to look at 98,000.
Yes, sir.
Down to 4,000, and not having an impact on something doesn't jive.
Right. What happened, Commissioner Tito Palacios, if you see before you on the screen, there was some modifications with the different departments, the district attorney, the judge's office, and you're within your right to modify and change your mind. When H&H, the first proposer, priced out the original plans and specs, okay, now he was given an option to review some modifications to the footprint, rightfully so. So within those changes, we've been able to reduce and add hardware and gear to the project that now we have what the county wants.
Is action needed on this request?
No, sir, this is just a report.
Judge, but I still have a question. That the county entered into a contract with a construction company to do this project, and a set amount was established. The court approved that amount. So now what I'm hearing is that amount is going to be increased now by 4,400.
Right, I believe it's because there were some changes.
Yes, There's been changes to the scope that the owner's requesting. But I think, Mr. Fraser, where we're losing focus is, again, one way or another, either if we go with alternative number one, I'm going to bring you a change order for $98,000 if we go that route. I don't believe that that is the route we should take. I don't believe that it's a route to take $40,000. I feel comfortable in coming in and asking for an additional $4,400 so that we can comply with the product that we're requesting on behalf of the owner. I understand that we have a defined numerical value, but in the previous commissions that we've already approved other change orders or added to the scope of work. We've increased the scope. I mean, it's typical.
I don't remember one change order, but it had to do with, it took a long time for the construction company to get the letter of, to start the work.
And
The authorization to start the work.
That was in the initial phases when we started the work that the general contractor proposed a general conditions add. That was a change order.
But because of that, then the contractor said it's going to cost additional monies, and court approved that because it was not his fault.
That's correct.
It took us too long to give him the order to start.
That's correct, sir.
I think we had another change order, no?
Yes, we did, sir. We've had about 2 of them, sir, that come before Commissioner's Court.
Okay,
Moving forward, on the snapshot that you have before you, I just want to go ahead and, this is, to me, this is good news. On item where you have original contract of $3,375,000, on the second line item where it says currently paid to the general contractor is $336,042.55. That number should always be correlated to the bottom number there, that it's been completion of 16%. I'm sorry, 16% of construction. What that number also includes is that the general contractor has completed himself 100% demolition. So basically, for the amount of work that he's performed and the amount that we paid out, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. We're holding on the most of the money, and he's been to date at $336,000. All of our contingencies are in place. Nothing has been moved just yet. We're bringing you that to your attention. The current construction cost is $3,457,000, and no extension days have been requested by the general contractor to date, which is good news. The next slide here is just as a sample of what we go day to day, what we call an RFI log and status between the architect, the contractor, and ourselves, including the executive office, Mr. Valdeguerra's office and his staff, is basically an outline of day-to-day operations of what's open and what's closed. The only thing that I want to highlight here very briefly is that the architect has addressed several of the items verbally, but we are requesting that he be more aggressive in replying to these more in writing. If you don't have it in writing, it didn't happen. So we're trying to get these off-centered and trying to reduce and minimize and close these RFIs and change orders. This last slide is just a preview of what's forthcoming. To answer your question, Mr. Eufrasio, and I believe Commissioner Tito Palacios, item number 1, item number 5, and number 6 there, I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Cuellar. These items have been approved by Commissioner's Court previously as form of a change order or change directive. The items in pink that we've highlighted, if you look at number 9, this is one that's forthcoming as an extension of time of general conditions that's going to be requested by the general contractor. This goes back to this item right here. We need for the architect to take an aggressive action to respond to these open items more so than verbally. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item C.
Item C, Judge, Commissioners. I'm asking approval to accept the settlement check from Allstate Insurance Company in the amount of $2,110.48, and this will settle an auto accident with one of our county vehicles.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D, I'm also asking the court to accept the settlement check from USAA Garrison Property and Casualty Insurance Company in the amount of $335.10. This will settle an auto accident with one of our county vehicles.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is also a settlement check from National Union Fire Insurance Company in the amount of $901.98. I'm asking the court to accept this amount to settle an auto accident with one of our county vehicles.
For approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item F, we have the annual interlocal agreements between the library system and Hidalgo County for the following cities: Alamo, Donna, Edinburgh, Elsa, Hidalgo, La Joya, McAllen, Mercedes, Mission, Penitas, Pharr, San Juan, and West Laco.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item G, under our Environmental Compliance Division, I'm asking the court, or we're reporting to the court that we're going to submit the county's Tier 2 Chemical Inventory Report for 2013 to the Texas Department of State Health Services, and we're requesting payment of the associated fee of $100 based on types and quantities of materials stored by the county.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
All right, next item. Constable, Precinct 3.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
Chief Deputy Gonzalez with the Precinct 3 Constable's Office. Today we are asking for authorization and approval to accept the local border security program for year 2014 LBSP 14 grant, award number LBSP-14-0030 in the amount of $46,000.
Steve, can we take care of all of them at once? They're related.
Look at the rest.
Number two is,
because-
number two is just to authorize me to sign.
And number 3 is, I think we need to take separately, is authorization to pay overtime.
All right, as to 1 and 2, need a motion to proceed
Move
to
for approval.
accept.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 3,
Authorization to pay overtime reimbursement under the grant terms and conditions.
Move for approval.
Second.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Number 4, approval to certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for the local border security program for year 2014 LBSP 14.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And number 5, approval to appropriate funds for LBSP 14 in the amount of $46,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, number 9, our Health Department.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Under item 9A, Health Funding District, this is just an update to give you on the Hidalgo County Health Funding District. Last week, well, as of 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, there's been a total of $22,334,681.90 collected from the hospitals in regards to the health funding district from each of our hospitals in our community. Those funds are being processed and reviewed by Budget Office and Auditor's Office for certification, and that certification probably come to court next week. But just want to let you know that that's been, by the direction of this board, has been taken forward and action been taken. There's no action required on that, sir. Item 9B, there is no action unless you have any questions involving 1115 or indigent healthcare items. Item 9C, requesting approval to submit a request for increase to the bioterrorism discretionary grant funds in the amount of $11,334 with a local funding requirement match of $1,259. This is in regards to obtaining some additional RFID equipment for emergency management and our health operations and evacuation plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Next item is under item D, is requesting approval to apply for the 2014 Health Council, Border Health Council, Binational Health Council funding in the amount of $6,500. This is a small grant we received from the Border Health Office at Texas Department of Health and Human Services for our binational events we're going to have this year in October.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next item, sir, is a very important item that we've worked for over a year on. And this item I would like to acknowledge before getting into it is there was a very large committee formed to deal with this mobile vendor issues and some of our concerns in the county. We had representatives from the county judge's office, Mr. Jaime Longoria, and representatives from your office, Judge. We had each of the precincts' chief of staffs respond to these meetings, the constables, precinct 3, precinct 4, 2 and Precinct 1 constables. We had DA's office. Ms. Savannah Gonzalez needs to be recognized for her hard work, and through Ms. Ramirez's office there at the DA. Our emergency management coordinator, fire marshal's office, Chief Martinez, planning department, Mr. Cecine as director. Our environmental compliance, Martin Ramirez, and of course our health department. I have to acknowledge the hard work from Ms. Brenda Salazar in taking the lead on this project, sir. We were directed by Commissioner's Court about a year ago to review this whole issue dealing with mobile vendors in our county. And this is a very large project that we're bringing forward. And again, hopefully in the weeks to come, we'll actually be bringing a nuisance policy, one that we'll be looking at by the end of March. But getting back to this item, let me read the item.
Why don't we open it up for a public hearing?
Very good, sir.
Is there anyone, at this time, we're going to convene a public hearing to consider public comments for the rules for regulation of food establishment in the unincorporated areas of our county. Anybody here that desires to make any comments in favor or against or of any sort? No one? All right, at this time, we're going to close the public hearing and go ahead and proceed, Eddie.
Very good, sir. This public hearing is to consider comments for the rules and regulations of food establishment in the unincorporated areas of Hidalgo County pursuant to Texas Health and Safety Code, sections 437.001 as amended in the 25th District, Texas Administrative Code, section 229.169 through 229.171, 229.173 through 229.175 as amended by the Texas Administrative Section 229.373 as amended. The primary topics, I just want to give this just real quick for the record. You all have a copy of the procedure.
Why don't you just summarize it? It's 31 pages, and just tell us what we're trying to
Right.
accomplish.
The first page is the summary that we have given you, sir. Basically, what we're looking at is for mobile vendor. There's been a tremendous problem with mobile vendors and food vendors and the way they have been set up. We are following through on making this rules and enforcement a little bit more stringent. We have, for example, we're looking at a fee structure change for mobile vendors and fee establishments of 1 to 10 employees. Our mobile vendor fee, when you compare the comparison, is $100. We're going to be increasing the food establishment fee for restaurants from 1 to 10. Will be $100. There's no change there. But a restaurant that has, an establishment that has more than 11 employees will be raised by $25 to $125. And an establishment that has 21 employees or more will be raised $50 to $150. The permit also now involves some of the reviewing process. We have included Martin Ramirez from our environmental compliance, along with the various other, we have approval from planning department, fire marshal's office, environmental health, and our OSF division. Now we're including Mr. Ramirez from environmental compliance. The inspection schedule for mobile vendors now it was originally just once upon issuance of permit. Now there's going to be inspections every 120 days where the mobile vendor has to bring the actual trailer to the health department to be reviewed because it is mobile. One of the concerns that they would get their permit and then they would attach their mobile vendor trailer to a fixed structure that would violate all our planning and rules that we have, fire marshal rules, where by doing this, they can't do that because they have to physically move the vehicle to us to be inspected. Mr. Horacio?
Mr. Olivares, when are these fee changes effective?
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. It's up to Commissioner's Court to decide. I'm going to make recommendations that these fee changes be effective immediately. But of course, it's open to Commissioner's Court discussion.
Why don't we see if any member of the court has any questions on the merits?
Very good, sir.
Anybody here have any questions? If not, why don't you proceed to the scheduling and the impact that this will have and when?
Very good, sir. I also like to introduce Ms. Gonzalez. She's one of the DA's office attorneys, District
Morning.
Assistant Director Attorney. And any comments or reviews you'd like to add for the judge and commissioners?
Just with regard to the fee schedule, we're
Would you
asking-
mind getting closer to that mic,
Yes.
please?
With regard to the fee schedule, we would ask that upon Commissioner's Court approval, move forward with that. There are permits that would be in existence, some potentially through the end of the year because the permits exist for 1 year. So those that are coming in for renewals or for new permits would be under this new policy.
Need a motion to approve that proposed fee schedule.
What kind of problems do you anticipate, if any?
Sir, the problems that I anticipate, there's going to be some resistance from some of the mobile vendors and their contractors that deal with this. But the reality is, one of the key features of this policy change is we're promoting the food court concept, where anything with 2 mobile vendors or more, you've got to be in a food court. And the food court would be a paved or concrete area with established sewage, with established electrical, with restroom facilities. They would have to go through our planning department, fire marshals, all the other departments, and those would be set up, would be more appropriate to deal with hygiene issues, more appropriate to deal with food quality issues, and to deal with any safety, public safety issues, dealing with parking or traffic movement. All that would be in check. We're really encouraging those food courts and this getting away from just someone parking along the road and setting up a stand and having very limited control on that. Now, in the months to come and the weeks to come, there is a roadside vendor policy that's going to come forward, along with our nuisance policy that's going to come forward. All those things combined with this will be dealing with a lot of those concerns we've had in the last several months, in the last several years, sir.
And that sounds like a lot of extra government influence, but the problem that we have right now is if you have 2 or more little trailers hooking up to one power source, they're doing so by just plugging in, and there's no planning approval or anything like that. So we have a lot of, exactly, a fire hazard, a lot of wattage coming out from a structure that's not necessarily equipped to handle that.
So I think those are the key areas. The other thing is our push cart vendors. We're changing some of the ruling for them. Well, one of the things with the mobile vendors, they have to be TxDOT approved. One of the concerns was some of these little mobile trailers that were going and selling taquitos and things like that didn't even meet TxDOT approval as far as their minimum safety standards and regulations. That is going to be required now, as well as some of the push cart concerns. There's got to be reflectors put on them, safety vests worn. There has to be attention put to safety and making sure that they're safe. There's also some attention in the areas of flea market development. The flea markets, we are encouraging food court development in the flea markets where there is permanent sanitation, permanent disposal of waste through as far as either septic or sewer system, water, electric, restroom facilities, hand washing facilities. That's also upgrading the deals with how we work with that. And I think the other key component is that all of this just enforces and encourages enforcement of improving the quality of public health security, improving the quality of public safety, and dealing directly with a program, sir, that quite frankly has gotten out of control.
Does any member of the court have any question on any of the 6 areas that are being proposed for regulation? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt this proposed policy.
Sir, can we for the record say that it would be effective immediately? Right.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge. Again, I'd like to thank Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Salazar for their hard work and all the other directors that assisted with this program, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners.
Let me see here. Do I have anything else on there? Nothing? Nope. We have one item, sir. Item F, discussion and consideration and approval of rules and regulations of food. Okay, you've already established that. Food establishment, which you accepted, sir. Very good. That was item F that you all voted on, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 10, our adult probation.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Rodolfo Perez, Adult Probation, here on item 10.
applications for adult probation for the 2015 grant cycle of the Criminal Justice Division of the Governor's Office.
So moved.
DWI Core Program. Permission to apply for the continuation of the DWI Core Program.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Permission to be appointed the authorized official for the DWI Core Program.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Veterans Treatment Core Program. Permission to apply for the continuation of the Veterans Treatment Core Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Permission to be appointed the authorized official for the Veterans Treatment Core Program.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Monitoring Compliance for High-Risk Offenders Program. Permission to apply for the continuation of the Monitoring Compliance for High-Risk Offenders Program.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Permission to be appointed the authorized official for the Monitoring Compliance for High-Risk Offenders Program.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Prostitution Prevention Core Program. Permission to apply for the continuation of the Prostitution Prevention Core Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Permission to be appointed the authorized official for the Prostitution Prevention Core Program.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 11, Urban County.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. First item on the agenda, 11A, is discussion, consideration, and approval to accept the counter offers to purchase tracts of land for the Delta Area Connector. These are 9 parcels of land. This funding is to come from the General Land Office.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Thank you,
carries.
Raul. Item B is on behalf of the City of Mercedes requesting authority to purchase fire station equipment for their fire department. The purchase will be made from the Wilson Fire Rescue Contract, an approved vendor through the Hidalgo County's membership and participation with HGAC. The amount of the purchase will be $7,230.
For approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is on behalf of the City of Progreso requesting authority to purchase playground equipment for the Progreso City Park. Purchase will be made from the American Parks Company, contract number 42313, and approved vendor through Hidalgo County membership and participation with the State of Texas Buy Board. The amount of the purchase of this equipment plus the installation is $42,000, and this will be funded through the Urban County programs years 24 and 26.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, our Planning Department.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Raul Stein, Planning Administrator. First item on the agenda is preliminary approval of variance request, Mais Acres Number 5 subdivision.
Before you proceed, Ro, your mom was here this morning, and she asked Commissioner Palacios and myself to take care of you, so at least as of today, you know, that will happen.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. Yeah, she's very active. She's actually a librarian in San Juan, and it's a passion for her, so. And she got her master's from University of Alabama.
Beautiful,
Roll
beautiful
Tide,
lady,
so
man.
I thank you very much. She's very passionate about the library system, so thank you for that, sir. I'm sorry, Mais Acres Number 5, it's a preliminary approval. They are requesting a variance to our rules of the requirement of a cul-de-sac at the midway point, 660 feet. We've evaluated that along with that request along with the Subdivision Advisory Board, and because of the depth of the cul-de-sac at the end being only 1,000 feet and the alignment of the road as proposed, we don't see an objection to the request, and we have no objection to the variance being requested. The Subdivision Advisory Board also deliberated on this and is recommending a favorable approval. Everything else is in order. They are complying with the requirements of the drainage, and the other departments have reviewed it for preliminary approval, so it is also a recommendation from the Advisory Board and my office to approve, subject to future comments before receiving final approval.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Next item would be preliminary approval, Campbell Estate Subdivision Precinct 1, and Rojas subdivision, precinct 4. These are two small 4 and 2 lot, single subdivision lots. They're requesting preliminary approval so they could do the infrastructure improvements, septic tanks, and all the other stuff. We have no objection to preliminary approval. It has been approved by the advisory board and all the other county departments as well. We recommend preliminary approval for said two subdivisions.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item 3 is final approval of Sachi Acres number 10 subdivision. This is a 52-lot, single-family subdivision, and it's located in precinct 4. They have constructed all the improvements. They have provided the drainage requirements. All the other departments have also signed off on it. And the subdivision advisory board has also granted final approval, and we also are recommending final approval of Sachi Acres number 10 subdivision.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Idea Quest subdivision is in precinct 4. This is an expansion of the current Idea Academy that is located there on 29th and mile 17.5 Russell Road. They have complied with all the requirements. All the departments have signed off as well. Advisory board and my office recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
RSBDRDG FM 2812 subdivision is a one-lot commercial subdivision located also in precinct 4. They have complied with the commercial requirements, and it is has been approved also by the City of Edinburgh. Everything else is in order for a final approval. Advisory board and my office are also recommending final approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Arroyo Valley Phase 3, it's located in precinct 1. It's a continuation of a development on Canton Road, just east of Valverde. East of Dillon. Everything's in order for the final approval. Everything's been constructed, and advisory board in my office recommending final approval as well.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Final approval financial guarantee, Eduardo number 12 subdivision. It's a subdivision precinct 338, single-family lot development. Everything's in order. The development has been constructed. There is an on-site detention area to construct the east side that also has an outfall to the TxDOT system on La Homa. They are escrowing an amount of $9,000 cash deposit for the filling stations, which we call fire hydrants. And everything is in order. The advisory board has recommended approval, and my office is also recommending final approval.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Item 13, precinct 2.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Raul Salguero representing Commissioner Tito Palacios, Precinct 2. Item 13A, Judge, is approval of interlocal agreement between the Regional Mobility Authority and the County of Hidalgo to provide right-of-way acquisition services to the listed projects.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
And in accordance, number 2, in accordance with Section 791.014 of the Texas Government Code, requesting approval of the project to assist the Regional Mobility Authority in the acquisition of right-of-way for the US 281 Military Highway Overpass, State Highway 365, and the IBTC. We're going to assist the RMA with right-of-way acquisitions. They will reimburse us on a per-parcel basis.
Move for approval.
Well, this is the Precinct 2 right-of-way agent, the one that's going to do this work, right?
The right-of-way agents assigned to Precinct 2 will be, we will be billing them, invoicing, and they will pay us on a for the price per parcel.
Because the county has right-of-way agents throughout the county, but the ones that are going to be doing this work that you're going to bill for, is only your assigned?
Well, we're going to be billing on a per parcel basis, so if other agents help our agents,
Yeah, but to answer your question,
Right.
yes, any employee in that department.
Okay.
we-
Because
is
that was my
covered.
question, you opening up to any agents
Yes.
might assist the RMA, not
Right,
just
the
that one.
interlocal is with the county, and it's on a per
Raul,
parcel
I think
basis.
there's interlocals in place where the other precincts, the only one lacking is precinct 2. So all of them will be covered.
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 13B, I haven't talked to Commissioner, I don't know if he's ready to appoint or reappoint the member to the RMA. Commissioner, I think the appointment, Michael Cano is your current representative, his appointment expired, and I think he continues until you appoint or reappoint him.
If it's pushed to. Is there any problem in reappointing?
No, I don't see any problem.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion to reappoint Michael Cano to the board for a new term. Motion made and seconded. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Are there any others coming due? Mr. Pilar, are there any other members that need to be reappointed this year?
I believe just precinct 4 is left.
Who?
Precinct 4?
Or Commissioner?
Oh, we hadn't reappointed him yet?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
We can bring it up next week if you want to put it on the agenda then.
Sure.
All right, next
Okay.
item.
Moving on, 13C, this is precinct 2. We have an interlocal agreement with San Juan for the Eldora and the Sergeant Trevino raising the bridges on those roadways. And this is approval to appropriate funds from the fund balance, from the precinct 2 fund balance in the amount of $682,929.86. These were monies that were set aside last year, and there was a delay in the requisition. The monies rolled over into the fund balance, of which simply appropriating those funds that had been set aside for this project.
Raul, I don't think there's such thing as a precinct 2 road and bridge fund balance, right?
Okay, the road and bridge balance.
Okay, all right.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item 13D, requesting approval to process the following invoices as claims with authority for the county treasurer to issue payment after review, audit, and processing procedures as completed by the county auditor. This is for Mobile Relay Partners. I believe we don't have a contract with them, and this is a way that they're getting paid for the invoices that are listed.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Precinct 2 Road and Bridge, the item 13E is approval of appropriation of 2014 funds into various Precinct 2 Road and Bridge projects in the amount of $650,000 to fund project expenditures from the Road and Bridge fund balance. These are dollars that were also budgeted last year into several projects that we're doing in-house. When the year ended, they went back to the fund balance, and we're simply reappropriating those dollars.
These were budgeted when we adopted our budget in October?
Yes, sir, they were budgeted at that time, but they roll over into the fund balance, the Road and Bridge fund balance, and we're simply reappropriating those funds. The projects were not complete at that time. These are 2013 unexpended funds, so we're reappropriating for 2014.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Item 14.
Thank you.
Judge Commissioner Sergio Cruz, Department Budget Management. Item 14A is presentation, discussion, and direction on the county sanitation program. Y'all turn to the first presentation, the green one. I'll go through it as soon as we pull it. Thanks. Judge Commissioners, as y'all know, we've been working on this sanitation program for a couple of years now. And we're bringing this back up to the courts just to get some final direction as to how to proceed with this program. Again, the main goal for this sanitation program was to transition to a fee-for-disposal service program and to try to eliminate the current $5 million in expenditures that we have within our sanitation program. Again, one of the things that we looked at was to do a rural sanitation program where the household trash would be picked up curbside, pretty much giving city services to the rural residents.
In developing this program, we're recommending to the court that we utilize a non-exclusive service agreements with the rural waste haulers, that we assess a 5% service fee, which is the franchise fee, to all the waste haulers, and to transition and close all the county collection stations. As far as the 5% service fee, there is a caveat to that. The current waste haulers currently have contracts with the residents. Approximately 1/3 of the rural residents currently contract with a private hauler to haul their trash. Those contracts would have to be honored, and a 5% service fee cannot be added to those contracts. However, upon renewal, at that point, then we'll be able to charge the 5% service fee. Again, some of the benefits to this, we would potentially eliminate our $5 million in annual expenditures that we currently appropriate for the sanitation program. Our projections that during the first year of the program, we would save approximately about $2 million. And then as we phase out the personnel, we would be able to realize the full $5 million savings, in addition to the 5% franchise fee or service fee. Again, rural residents would then be provided city-like services. They'll be having their household trash picked up at their curb, similar to all the city residents do right now. Again, there would be a fee for that. Again, current city residents also pay a fee for that, and they get picked up curbside. It would be no different for the rural residents. Again, there are some concerns in transitioning to this new program. There is a potential for increased illegal dumping. So we will have to beef up our code enforcement. There will be increased truck traffic, or utilizing the non-exclusive versus the exclusive. There will be increased truck traffic. It'll be similar to what we have right now, but now there will be more trucks since we would not have an exclusive contract. We wouldn't have one vendor per region. Basically, all the existing vendors would be able to compete for that service. So there potentially could be 2 or 3 haulers driving through the same neighborhoods on the same days. That is one of the pitfalls to that. And there will be increased administrative costs from our end as far as reviewing all the agreements, reviewing all the collections report, making sure that the 5% is being paid on all the service agreements that we have with the haulers. This is our recommendation, Judge Commissioners, that we be able to move forward in this direction.
Just a minute.
On the
Yes.
numbers that you have projected, year one would be $2 million.
$2 million, that's what we're projecting. We would, in
And over a
essence,
period of 3 years,
yeah, over a period of 3 years, hopefully, we would aim to realize the whole $5 million in savings. Again, the first year, we would expect current vacancies to be eliminated as vacancies occurs within the program. As far as the employee attrition plan, there's currently 80 sanitation employees. We would expect a 3-year phase down of that. We would transition these employees into existing vacancies within the road and bridge, existing vacancies within the parks, and then any other countywide departments that they could possibly fit in.
After the third year, would we have basically incurred savings of $5 million every year because we're not spending it?
Correct, because we're not spending that. Again,
in essence, what we're saying is that would cover the cost of a new courthouse, would it not?
that would cover the majority cost for a new courthouse. Our current plans, what we've been working on our financial models right now with our financial advisor, First Southwest. One of the methods of finance that we have for the courthouse would be we would do interest-only payments for the first few years and then start paying on the principal since we do have a declining debt service. So the $5 million would be able to cover the principal payments for the first 2-3 years. Again, the whole plan as far as the employee, it would be through attrition. We would not terminate any of the existing employees. I mean, currently, right now, we have truck drivers, we have heavy equipment operators. So basically, the truck drivers now, instead of hauling trash to the dump site,
they'd not be hauling caliche for road projects, heavy equipment operators, similar things. So this is our recommendation as far as moving forward with the sanitation program to do a non-exclusive. We do have, if the court...
What's your earliest date that the court can initiate a plan like this?
If we fast-track this project, I think the earliest date that we would be able to get this project going would be July 1st of this year. It would be approximately a 60-day turnaround as far as on the RFQ process. Again, since we're looking at doing a non-exclusive agreement, the current vendors would just continue to service their current employees. There would not, they would serve as the current residents. Residents wouldn't have to transition to somebody else. They could elect to move to somebody else. However, that would be under the normal scope. So there would be no delay as far as on bringing in one private hauler. Again, this would be non-exclusive, so the current haulers would continue to service the current areas. The only thing that would be different is now we would be charging them a 5% administrative fee.
I've been keeping up with Cameron County, and they've never made it work. So, I mean, I don't know how we could make it work, being a bigger county. And, I just think that we'd probably be opening another can of worms, by trying to privatize.
Yeah, well, Cameron County was able to eliminate their sanitation program. Again, they did not get 100% participation from the residents. I think the participation rate is still somewhere around 50%. It's improved slightly. About 50% of the rural residents are utilizing the services. However, again, they were able to eliminate that cost. There was some increased cost to their illegal dumping. However, we feel that with the 5% service fee, we would be able to address that by either hiring more code enforcement officers. Again, since we expect to still have employees within the sanitation program, since we won't eliminate anybody, we will do it through attrition. For the first few years, we will be able to utilize that same staff to be able to address some of the illegal dumping that's occurring. That we do expect for there to be some type of spike within the illegal dumping. Then we expect it to taper off. We would be able to utilize the employees that are still within the program to address that problem.
Judge, if I may comment, I think it's an impeccable job that they've done to get to this point. I know we've got a hybrid model, and we're trying to apply something that we think may work. Of course, we have to be very cognizant of all precincts are different, so it's going to affect every precinct differently. If I looked at it from a GIS standpoint, I've seen where all my permit holders are, and I could see what could potentially work for us. But I could also see it could be problematic for some other precincts. So I think it's important to be very receptive that in whole as a county, we're going to have to continue to tailor it to pretty much, demands are different. Geographical areas and access to services and whether or not these companies can successfully provide the service that's needed. Ultimately, the burden on the county is going to be the illegal dumping aspects because of all our drainage systems and things like that. And being the fact that we're approaching a hurricane season in several months, we got to be very cognizant of how this is going to affect the county in whole. But I believe we got to start somewhere. I think this is a good starting point, but we're going to have to be very receptive on modifying as we go to assure that we're not putting the county in harm's way. And at the end of the day, that taxpayers are getting what they need.
I know Mr. Cruz is looking to us for direction. Why don't we try to arrive at a consensus of whether or not we support it, privatizing our sanitation or not? And if so, under what system?
Why can't we start with implement a permit fee?
We do have that as an optional recommendation. We have looked at, because mainly the main change, if we were to go into this franchising, the main thing would be eliminating the collection stations. One thing that we could do is we could start charging at the collection stations.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, if we can put a charge on it, and at least try and recoup some of our money. I think it'll help out and let's try it and see how we can make it work.
We would be able to generate additional funds. However, we would not eliminate the current expenditure. Since the collection station personnel would have to remain to operate the collection stations. However, we do implement a $5 monthly fee, which we would recommend being assessed either on a semi-annual or on an annual basis. There is potential for $1.6 million in additional revenues. Utilizing that monthly fee, if we were to do a quarterly fee, a $25 quarterly fee, which equates to about $100 a year, would be $2.7 million in potential revenue that we're estimating that we would achieve. However, again, we would still have the $5 million sanitation expense, so it would only cover a portion of the current expense. It would not necessarily eliminate that. We would, again, expect that there would be some type of increase in illegal dumping because of the fee that's now being assessed. However, we don't expect it to be as high as it would be if we were to do the franchising and closing the collection stations entirely.
Why don't we have a show of hands and all of us that are in favor of privatizing our sanitation? So we can provide direction. We've got to either bring it up and get it done or not.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how it's going to work. My northern district is a little different. You got ranch owners who have thousands of acreage, and their homesteads are way inside those properties. So if we close down the northern site, they're going to have to literally transport all their trash to their gate access.
Yes,
Okay.
they would have to transport it to the gate access. That's where the haulers would pick up their the trash. Unless they can come up with another agreement with some of the waste haulers, perhaps pay an extra surcharge to the waste haulers. That way they can come in, but that would have to be an internal agreement between the haulers and the landowners. On our RFP, the only requirement that we ask of the haulers is that they be able to pick them up at the front entrance of the home.
What do you think?
Let's continue the process and get everything in place.
As far as for the franchise agreements, we have a RFP packet that we can already go and advertise. We have visited with, I believe, 7 of the local haulers that are very interested in bidding out for this. They also want some direction from the county as far as whether we're going to continue forward with the exclusive, the non-exclusive. That way they know whether they can request lines of credit at the bank or how they would have to do as far as on their business strategy. So they are also looking to the county for direction.
Would it be exclusive as to only residential, or would it cover both residential, commercial?
No, it's only for residential. Commercial would still be on a private basis. We only have authority, I believe, for residential household trash, not commercial.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Judge. I just also want to make sure that the court is aware that once they lend some direction to privatization, there has to be a finding of fact by the Commissioners Court that there is a need to protect the health and safety of the community in this privatizing effort. That's a requirement that's going to be necessary.
Unfortunately, I don't think that'll be too difficult.
Well, I don't think so either, but it's my duty to make sure that the court is aware of that there will have to be a finding of fact that's required by statute in order to move forward with this. And certainly, I think the agenda item is asking for some direction. That finding of fact would be articulated through an order.
Yeah. If we provided you with a direction to go ahead and proceed, then we need to get that somehow on the agenda so we can vote on it.
Correct. We would have to get the order drafted and then present it to court for approval.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the court?
Now, let me ask you a question. It's going to be a unified plan, or is there a potential chance that we visit with each precinct to figure out what will suit them best? It's really difficult. I mean, every precinct's different. The demands are different. The effect's going to be different. It just concerns me. The way I looked at it for Precinct 4, I mean, we know where our permit holders reside. We realize the potential client base of a potential vendor that can get in there and pick up a bunch of clients. I don't know. We've done a survey before. 52% had favored a curbside service, while the other 48 hadn't. I just think that we have to. I'm willing. I think it's important that we look at it to reduce the demand. The financial demand has been on the county, but also don't want to be counterproductive in the sense that we didn't look. We weren't as thorough enough to assure that that the plan that we go with will be respective to all precincts and the potential effect that it's going to have.
I would need to probably visit with legal as far as on having different type of services in different areas of the county. I know it does allow for us to create districts, so we could potentially create a district for exclusive franchising on some districts, non-exclusive on others. But I would definitely need to consult with legal on
there
that.
might be a potential chance that one precinct may take a contract or that it will successfully be done with vendors, while other precincts you might have the fee option or a combination of fee option at collection sites as a hybrid and a step forward to getting closer. So I think I think it's important to meet before we have enough.
Yeah, I think before we go any further, I think we better
I think it's
discuss it a little
important to
more.
move
I'd rather wait and
Yeah, I think we need to move forward, but we just want to make sure that whatever plan we adopt, it's
do the
gonna
right
suit-
thing and not,
suit the needs of all precincts.
What is it that you feel still needs to be done?
Well, I just feel, I mean, if we're not gonna make it work, and we're gonna have close our collection sites, and we're gonna have a lot of illegal dumping, and I think in the long run, it might cost us more, we're still gonna have to go pick it up and go deliver it, and that's, where the expense is.
Right, but I'm trying to understand, what is it that you believe that the budget office still needs to do before we can act on it?
I think that, I don't think I think we can look at as a contingency, a fee option at collection sites so that the permit holder knows that there's a nominal fee for discarding of trash, but you might, at that point, you're not eliminating the collection site at that point, but they're providing, similar like if you go to Edinburgh, and I'm not saying they're charging nominal fees, but there's a fee there, and it allows for that transition of the general public to know that there's going to be not just a fee, but there's also a potential chance for them to seek a provider to pick it up at curbside. They're not, we're not rejecting the trash at that point in time. And I could see where, I've worked in that area. My concern is going to be more on the Southern District of Precinct 2 and Precinct 1. In our area, since I think we might be a little better shape to try to switch to a vendor for curbside service. But at the same time, I might advocate adopting a fee schedule where the vendor would take over a collection site, but also charge just a nominal fee as a transition to getting them to want curbside service, because they're already paying a fee at the collection site. So we're just trying to avoid culture shock. Second, run into hurricane season where we're going to have to, the unexpected happens, and we're having all this trash in our drainage ditches, and this could have it can echo an adverse effect if we adopt the wrong plan. So it's going to be something we're going to have to be very mindful.
And there's certainly statutory authority to impose a fee of that sort, and I believe you're alluding to a fee at the collection stations. Thereafter, you certainly get an indication of whether there's going to be participation in paying the fee, whether there's going to be increased dumping out of reluctance to pay the fee, and maybe even talking to your constituents at that point about their willingness to avoid a fee and contract with a residential vendor.
And at the same time, from a marketing standpoint, Texas was very successful when, they started the Do Not Litter campaign and the fees and the fines and things like that. So in the same respect, you got to give them a reason to turn around and assure that either they curbside service or pay the fee to assure that they
Do you have an
properly.
understanding as to what you still need to do?
Yes, well, I believe definitely the fee option at the collection station, I believe the only issue that the court has is whether or not to close the collection stations at this point. We could do the franchising or the service agreements with the waste haulers to where we can collect the 5%, leave the collection stations open, and charge a fee there as well, to where now the residents have the option to either pay at the collection station or pay to get.
Sergio, I'm just saying you're pretty much there. I just think that you have to individually meet with each precinct so we fully understand that whatever we're deciding is probably the best step process to successfully reduce our cost and what we've been spending for the sanitation program.
Okay. Then I can visit with each of the precincts individually and then come back within 2 weeks and have another presentation for the court as far as our recommendations.
With specific options.
Yeah.
We will do that.
The court can look at and then vote on it or vote it out. But at least you'll be provided with direction and we'll know where we're going.
Okay, Judge, Commissioners, we'll proceed in that fashion.
All right, next item.
The next item is presentation discussion on the tire shredding project. Let me just pull that up. That's the second. We've been looking, the tire disposal issues within the precincts has always been an issue as far as dumping of tires in canals, and also right now we have the residents that also, they're allowed to take tires to the precinct collection stations, and so there is a fee associated with that. What we've looked at doing is buying a tire shredder so that we'd be able to shred the tires and dispose of them at a cheaper rate than what we're currently doing. Right now, we're disposing the tires whole at the City of Edinburgh and with UTW. So what we're proposing on doing is buying a mobile tire shredder, and we're looking at a mobile tire shredder so we'd be able to move it from one collection station to another collection station, different sites within the county, do the shredding there, and then we would be able to dispose of the tire shreds at a cheaper rate. Right now, what we've looked at is we're looking at spending $341,000, which would be $180,000 for the tire shredders. We would need also some personnel to operate the shredders, and then some annual operating expenditures and the tipping fees. Right now, the average tire disposal cost on a yearly basis is about $257,000. So the first year, we're looking at having a loss of about $84,000. However, every year after that, since we've purchased the equipment, which is the major cost item, we would have approximately $95,000 in savings just by shredding the tires and disposing them shredded as opposed to whole. The 5-year savings forecast is roughly about $300,000 that we would save by purchasing a tire shredder and disposing of the tire shreds as opposed to whole tires. So we're looking for the court for some direction as far as whether we can proceed with this and bring this, try to get some quotes or actually bid out for the mobile tire shredder.
One of those shredders will be enough for the whole county?
Yes, we believe it should be enough. We will be basically just moving it from location to location.
Sergio, let me ask you a question. Not stopping this process, but I think we should move forward. But, there is another piece of equipment that you could literally separate the rubber, the metal, and you're able to at least sell the metal, scrap metal, the rubber. You can bin it, and there's industries here just across the border that are buying from vendors a lot of this rubber.
We've looked at some of those equipments. They have a high investment. I believe the equipment runs close to about $1 million for those types of tire shredders that separate the metal from the rubber. The problem that we would have is trying to locate the market for it. I know that there's.
Yeah, it's just a question. I wondered.
And we did look at that, and environmentally, I think that's probably the best way to go. So we can now recycle it as opposed to just throw it into a landfill. But from a cost-benefit standpoint, from our end, we're trying to get the fastest rate of return on our investment. So this is our recommendation to do a mobile tire shredder.
Definitely, we need to do something. It's a major problem, those tires. We in Precinct 1, I know alone, probably daily, we pick up 75 to 100 tires a day that we pick up on the canals and the roads, rural roads. So.
I like it.
All right, then basically we'll proceed on, we already have some specifications for the bids. We'll work with purchasing to place those on the agenda for next week. And then we do have our schedule. And then we'll work with each of the precincts and also with Martin from the Environmental Division to get everything as far as if we need to give any notice to TCEQ, we'll get that done before we purchase the equipment. So we'll proceed with that project.
You're going to do what?
We're going to proceed with that project and
Is
get...
that the direction of the court?
I would be in favor of it.
Of the tire shredding?
Tire shredding.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner? Okay, that is the direction of the court.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners. Item 14.83 is presentation, discussion, status update on various budget initiatives. Judge, I gave y'all last week also a quick presentation on this. Y'all were able to go and review that. We do have some high priority initiatives. One of them is the sale of unused assets. Right now, I believe we have the RFP for the broker. We were doing some final amendments. Purchasing was making some final amendments to that RFP, and I believe we will probably bring that back to court for reapproval of the specs and have those advertised probably within the next 2 weeks. So we're hopefully moving along with that project and be able to bring back to court some additional revenue to the sale of some unused assets. We continue to work with the delinquent fines and fees. To date, since we started that project probably about a year and a half ago, we've generated $2.1 million in additional fees. One of the things that we recently started was the warrant roundup. The constables have beefed up their warrant enforcement, so that started this week. We did have an amnesty period that ran through the end of last month, so we've now started with the warrant roundup. One of the new things that we would like to present to the court is try to develop some type of judicial performance measures for the JPs and for the constables, and then we would work with the JPs and the constables so that we have buy-in from them. They set their targets, but then we would be reporting to the court as far as how many cases have been disposed, how many warrants have been issued, how many have been executed, and then also just have more information to the court as far as delinquency of some of the accounts. And that way we can help out the JPs and the constables accomplish their goals.
I think that's a crucial component just for the awareness aspect of what's going on out there. Now, this $2 million is revenues already generated through these programs?
Yes, revenues already generated through the online portal, through the scofflaw program. These are all revenues that we can attribute to those efforts. Again, the sanitation permit fee is one of the ones that we just discussed as far as moving along and trying to charge at the each of the collection stations. We've also been working with the Treasurer's Office and sheeting approximately $1.3 million in funds that need to be sheeted into the general fund. We've already drafted procedures, so we'll be working with the treasurers throughout this month and hopefully have a presentation to the court next month as far as getting those procedures approved by court and then basically transferring these funds back to the general fund. One of the things that we've also looked at is deletion of vacant positions. We'll be working with the executive office and possibly presenting to the court, some positions that we'd be able to delete. As of today, there's about $1.3 million in salaries from Commissioners Court departments that are vacant that could potentially be deleted. That's the court's desire. As soon as we do a review of the departments and visit with the departments, we'll bring back some information to the court as far as recommendations for some positions to be deleted.
90 days, do you think that's long enough?
Well, these are...
As long as it takes to advertise and interview?
The 90 days is referencing the 1.3. These are $1.3 million worth of salaries for positions that have been vacant already for more than 90 days. So obviously, the department has been able to operate without that position for 90 days. We do have a 90-day rolling freeze, but this carried over from last year that have not been filled. So these are some positions that we feel potentially could be deleted without there being any disruption to services or a minimal disruption to service. So those are the ones that we're recommending as far to the court.
Is this 1.3 million for this year, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, currently in our vacancy report, there's $1.3 million worth of positions that have been vacant for over 90 days. There's also $1.4 million that we have in the district clerk's office that we're also going to sheet to, or actually transfer over to the county's general fund. The district clerk's office already done a review of these funds. We've actually prepared a report. Her office and mine did a report and submitted it over to our external auditors, Burton, McCumber, and Cortez, just to make sure that we followed all accounting procedures correctly. We're just pending for that letter or for his approval, and that way we can submit those funds over to the treasurer's office. We expect that to be done within the next.
I was under the impression, from what we were told earlier, that we were closer to 2 million. Is this a net, for example, the balance may have been gone to the state, and this is what we need to disperse or distribute?
I believe the initial finding was probably closer to $2 million. I believe approximately about 2 years ago, there was about a little bit over $400,000 that was already transferred over to the treasurer's office and had been, has already been transferred over to the county's general fund. This is the remaining balance of those funds. So we hope to have this resolved by.
$1.9 million that was in that account, Judge. But I think it was a transfer made 10, 12 years ago.
I believe it just got.
But a balance remains there.
Yes.
And we already asked the district clerk to transfer those monies. Now you're saying he's going to transfer them now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We've worked on. She wanted to make sure that she had due diligence in reviewing each of those cases, making sure that those funds were not registry funds, they were not attorney general funds. She wanted to make sure from her own, just to make sure she had done everything possible to identify those funds. She's already ruled out everything else, so the only thing that this would be county revenues, so she will be transferring those over to the treasurer's office, to the county general fund.
Yeah, the issue was that there was no records to go back to.
Correct.
That's what created the problem, that there was $1.9 million and we couldn't identify who the money belonged to, other than the only record that we had, it was from a previous district clerk saying that those were all county funds.
Correct.
And that's why we asked her to transfer those funds over to the general fund.
Yes. So from her standpoint, since she had not done a review of those, she wanted to make sure that those funds were in fact county funds and not registry funds or child support funds. And they've accounted for all the child support funds, they've accounted for all the registry funds and everything else. So then basically through the process of elimination, we've determined that these are in fact county funds. And that's the reason why we wrote up a letter as far as memorandum, as far as all the procedures that were undertaken to make sure that these were county funds. And we've submitted that to Burton McCumber just for his review.
All right. Because out of the 1.9, we identified some of those, well, we did an analysis.
Yes.
And we estimated that some of those funds were for not county funds, and we accounted for those as such.
And some of them, I believe, were
Court reporters.
court
and
reporter
other-
funds, law library, and yes, and we've done the same thing. We've been able to distribute them as well. So we have a plan of distribution for those funds as well. We're just, hopefully by the end of this month or early next month, we'll have those funds transferred over to the county's general fund.
Sergio, what I'm trying to tell you is that we already done an analysis, and we had already identified the amount that is owed back to the general fund. So I
Yes.
think that amount needs to be transferred.
The only
I don't-
analysis that I saw from your office was for the actual, I believe, $500,000 that was submitted over to the treasurer's office. I saw the analysis for those funds, but not for the remaining funds that were still at the district clerk's office.
And also, we sent her a letter requesting the transfer of the remainder,
Yes.
because we already had a portion.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to say is that we already done an analysis and identified the amount. It just to be transferred. I don't think there's a need for Burton McCumber to go over what we already done and bill you an amount that I don't think is
No.
necessary.
All he was doing was reviewing our procedures, not necessarily going to bill us for it. He's just reviewing our procedures. He wants to get this finding cleared out as well. So yes, we agree with you, Mr. Professor.
Sergio, it's 12:45, and we got quite a few items left to go.
All right, Judge, again, these are just status updates on these projects. Y'all can review them. We will have, I do meet with the chiefs of staff on a semi-weekly basis and bring them up to date on some of these projects. And what we've discussed is actually having this on a monthly basis to the court and actually making a presentation to the court on a monthly basis. So we'll continue that with that process.
Well,
again, there's no action needed on these.
Right.
I'll continue on to the next item.
I would want to commend you on your initiatives, on your efforts. You've identified 33 initiatives that we can look at and consider.
Yes, and it's just not my office, it's purchasing, IT, executive office, the health department. It's basically a lot of departments working together,
Well,
trying to address our budget issues.
I'm glad you're doing it because budget is already upon us.
Yes, we will probably start discussions probably by the latter part of this month. We'll
All
start
right,
a little bit
sir.
early today.
Thank you.
Item 14B is approval of advanced funding agreement between Hidalgo County and the Texas Department of Transportation for the FM 1925 project with authority for the county judge to sign the required documents.
Need a motion to
Move for
approve?
approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B2 is approval of agreement for right-of-way procurement for the FM 1925 road project with the authority for the county judge to sign the required documents.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item B3 is approval of agreement of right-of-way procurement for the FM 2220 road project, and we will also need the authority for the county judge to sign those documents.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 14C is discussion, consideration, and approval of an order authorizing the creation of a county energy transportation reinvestment zone. This is within the segments of FM 1017. It's approximately about 4 parcels. The project map, the zone map is included in the backup and is attached as an exhibit to the order. There is one correction, I believe. The EDC reduction page is listed as Exhibit A. That is not Exhibit A. The map should be listed as Exhibit A. That's the only correction that we would want to make on that document.
What item are you on, Sergio?
Excuse me?
What item are you on? 15D?
14C1.
14.
Okay, because I have a comment regarding 14B. Can we go back to it, Judge?
Okay, go ahead.
On 14B, the AFA agreement says that the county is going to contribute for certain things. However, the same agreement talks about construction and that the local government, the county, is going to be sending to the state the financial share of the state estimated construction
Yes.
cost. So there's no construction cost involved.
There is no construction cost. That item on the agreement is pretty much moot. There is no construction cost. This is a state road, so the state would be doing the construction portion of it. However, that is in the agreement, and we do realize that that should not be there. However, because of the way the state works, it's kind of difficult to get those agreements modified on a timely basis. And they
My
did
question is, can we modify that agreement to take out? Because we're
scratch
not
out
gonna,
that
we're not gonna be
item?
sending any monies to the state. Is it possible to modify this agreement to make it clear that there are no costs?
I don't know
construction
whether the
costs?
state would accept that agreement with those modifications. That's my only concern.
They won't.
The fact that there is, we know that there is no contribution, I think pretty much renders it moot, but.
Now, this is item number
And-
1 or 2?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
And
no.
within that agreement, we're not agreeing to remit any funds, just if there's local portions of it, which they're not at this point.
Right, and.
We
and
still
we've
have to agree to the amount.
Right, and the MPO is already, and the state has already identified and already set aside all construction dollars
Correct.
for these projects.
Have we asked Sergio that question?
I can certainly ask the state for them to remove that language.
Well, at least I want the record to reflect that
There
the
is
county
no-
is not going to be responsible for any construction costs or oversight of construction projects.
Correct.
All right, sir. Go ahead. Next.
In regards to 14 CIC, the Owls aren't here. They came in with a question regarding the certs, and I know that the budget office and the DA's office and everybody has been assisting the county in this. Just pretty much, Judge, it's a grant program. I know you have representatives from your office, Michael Leo, that has helped out. It's a grant program for 10 years. Do you want to go over at least the complexity of what we're doing here?
Basically, the grant program is roughly just $800,000 that would be available to the county. This zone that we're creating, that we're asking to be created, has a life of 10 years. Basically, there is no automatic increase in property taxes to this zone. The only thing that it does is pretty much limit the expenditures within this zone, that if there were increase in values within the zone, that increment in taxes can be utilized for improvements within the zone, similar to some of our other ones. It does call for an advisory committee, and again...
Sergio, when you talk the zone, Judge, it was very important that we strategically place a zone so it wouldn't be a burden to the county. The zone selected, can you cover that, Sergio?
Yes, the zone selected is on FM 1017. We visited with the RMA. It is north of the RMA loop, so it will not affect any of the RMA project. It's within an area that we do not anticipate there be any substantial valuation growth within the next 10 years. That way, that valuation growth is not limited to just that zone. We keep basically all our valuation growth for the county.
And Commissioner, if I may add to some clarity that I think may be necessary for your constituents who are affected by this zone. The real purpose of creating the zone is in order to be able to apply for the Transportation Infrastructure Fund grant. That's the real purpose of creating the zone. That's a requirement by statute by the Department of Transportation. In order for the county to apply for the $800,000 that Mr. Cruz identified, we have to create a zone. And this zone is being created, as Sergio mentioned, in an area that is not likely going to have an increase in ad valorem tax values, so that it wouldn't necessarily affect that particular taxpayer. And if there should be an increase in ad valorem tax value down the road because of hypothetically, let's say oil and gas exploration or production, those persons in that zone are going to benefit by that, because that, from this base year, which we're creating today by this order, and thereafter, that money can only be spent in that area. So it's a win-win for that individual. They're going to get an increase in their taxes that's going to be returning to them, at least in the value of the ad valorem taxes. But I think the difficulty in people understanding this is that by the county creating this zone, it allows us to apply for the infrastructure grant.
Right, and I know that throughout the state, counties have hired firms to do this. I just want to state for the record that we've used in-house staff, such as the district attorney's office, the budget office, and all county employees to prepare this application, this grant application, that allow us to tap into some state funds. And so I just want to recognize for that for the record.
Commissioner, I have a couple of comments, Judge, regarding this particular item. One is that that documentation you were referring to earlier is not attached to the agenda. The order and the meets and bounds of the search was not attached, so correct. We could not review any of the documentation, but I think it needs to be attached to the agenda.
Yes, we've sent it over to Monica Badillo so she can attach it back into agenda quick.
Okay. Yes. The other comment that I have is in reference to the cost associated with those two roads. Because item number 4, I don't know if you already to that point, Sergio, on item number 4?
Not yet, Mr. Ofracio.
Okay.
And let me just address your concern about meets and bounds. I reviewed the statute this morning. There's nothing that requires that the zone be identified by leaps and bounds. It simply states that it should be identified with sufficient definitiveness to identify with ordinary and reasonable certainty. Mm-hmm. The presentation that was put out by the Department of Transportation included or allowed for parcels to be used to identify that zone. So
the order and the identification of the zones meets the statutory requirements.
Okay. Yeah, but regardless of what it is, it's not attached, so you will attach it later?
Yes,
on,
it's
sir?
already attached, and it's
All right.
included in the packet that we've submitted.
Mhm.
There is a map that has the parcel descriptions. That map was attained through the appraisal district, so they will be easily, readily available to code those property accounts.
Yeah.
In regards to you had mentioned the road project costs?
Well, item number 4 is talking about the discussion, authorization, and approval of designating the roads projects to be funded.
Yes.
And my question is, what is the cost of those projects? Because the grant amount is already set.
The grant amount is limited. We would probably only be able to do one of the projects with the current grant amount. I believe the cost of each of the projects is roughly about $1.2 million each. So the precinct would have to identify funds from within their budget to be able to complete the rest of the project. However, we would utilize the first $800,000 from the grant, and then we would utilize CO funds from the precincts to finish out the project. Yes, but there would be additional funds needed to complete the project.
It will have to come out of their road and bridge
Yes.
fund balance, whatever?
Yes,
Mhm.
either
Got
road
it.
and bridge or their COs.
All right, thanks.
So
There
right
is a
now,
possibility also that, depending on how all other counties go after some of this funding, that there will be additional funds in the future, being the fact that there may potentially be counties that don't take advantage of the grant program that the state
correct.
set.
Well, right now, the county and district clerks listserv is currently having a poll of all the counties that are applying for this grant. And right now, as of this past week, only half of the counties are applying for this grant. So there's definitely going to be monies that are going to be left over, and there probably will be around 2 for this grant, or we will be able to submit grant amendments to that. TxDOT has not outlined how that process would work, but we would assume that it'd be similar to other grants. When there's leftover funds, they either include it as a supplement or they allow us to apply for additional funds. So we would need approval of the order authorizing the creation of this County Energy Transportation Reinvestment Zone.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is approval and appointment of members to the Search Advisory Committee. We do need 2 at-large members, and then we would need at least 1 member that is related to the oil and gas industry. I don't know if,
Well,
Judge, do you have any nominations, or does?
I don't know if anybody's prepared with names.
Okay.
Why,
Can we bring it back?
why were we not notified ahead?
My understanding, and I've been in contact with Michael Leo from our office, is that he's in the process of contacting the various
Oh, well, then
chiefs of
leave it for
staff.
next week or some other time.
Yes, we can bring back the advisory board members'
All right.
appointments for next week.
All
I think
right,
he's
bring
talked to Mona, I think he's, yeah, he's reached out to several of the offices to get that process started. Thank you.
Now, item 3 would be discussion, consideration, and approval to apply for the fiscal year 2014 County Transportation Infrastructure Fund Grant Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 4 is discussion, authorization, and approval of designating Wallace Road and Brushline Road projects to be funded by the County Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program. We will list these 2 roads as part of the grant program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 5 is discussion, consideration, and approval of accepting county road reports to be included in the minutes of the Commissioners' Court. We've included road reports for each of the precincts. Basically, what we've done is we've taken the Fixed Assets Division listing of all the county roads. They also have, based on the year that the road was constructed or reconstructed, they have the condition of the road. It's not based on an actual visual inspection, but rather based on the year that the road was last worked on. So basically, we're listing that within the roads. The condition report basically lists that all roads are fair except to those that are listed on the attached road reports. We will work with the commissioners to have each of the road reports notarized and then submitted over to the county clerks to be included in the minutes. If we can have approval of those road reports.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 14D1 is approval of appropriation of funds in the amount of $19,465 for the FM 2220 TxDOT project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
What are the members of the advisory committee going to be doing?
Basically, they'll be looking at the different projects that can be done within the zone. Normally, what other reinvestment zones do, they have a broader function. They actually approve contracts. However, this one is only an advisory board. They would basically just come back to the court and recommend that different road improvements be made within that zone.
Thank you.
That's right, Judge. It would be very narrow to the zone. They would have no impact on any other infrastructural projects around the county. Obviously, the court would have discretion to appoint or remove appropriately. I just wanted to address one other issue, Judge, Commissioners, with regards to a comment that was made by an open forum as to the life of this committee in this zone. It's 10 years. That makes sense because of the nature of recognizing an increase in ad valorem taxes and possibly putting money back into that system. After 10 years, it ends, it's over, unlike some of the comments that have been made about the commuter rail, where we had been very limited in trying to bring some closure to that element of that project. This one has a finite life without any further action by Commissioner's Court.
Is this like a regular zone, or the increment zone, where the taxes you collect after the base year are set aside
Or set
for
aside,
projects?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to, in regards to the taxation and the
Right.
setting aside of the funds, it's similar to all the other zones. The only thing that's different here is going to be the board composition and the function of the board.
And my understanding is those funds could be utilized for other projects other than the ones that are in the zone, right?
The grant funds can be utilized for other projects outside the zone. The increment funds can only be utilized within the zone.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Item 15.
Yes, good afternoon. 15A1, this is presentation of the bid received and as detailed in the tabulation sheet contained herein. This is for hauling services for all road materials for Precinct 1. There were 11 packets distributed, 3 participants, 2 were incomplete, therefore you have 1 qualified, Roy's Hauling.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Acceptance and approval to purchase 1 new 2014 CAT Model T CT 660 roll-off truck with standard equipment through the membership with the NJPA awarded contract as stated on the agenda in the amount of $151,697.38.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
B1, requesting exemption for Precinct 2 under bidding requirements 262-024A4, a professional service.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries.
B is presentation of the scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court. The 3 firms are R. Gutierrez, 97, S&G at 94, and R.E. Garcia and Associates at 82. Does the court wish to rank them in the order of their scores?
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Authority for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional engineering services agreement with the number 1 ranked firm, commencing with R. Gutierrez Engineering.
For approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item 2, we have requesting approval of a sole source granting an exemption from competitive bidding requirements under 262-024A7, an item that can be obtained only from one source.
For approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item B is approval of the sole source declaration with AEP Texas Central Company with authority to enter into a contribution and aid construction agreement in the amount of $10,951.41, commencing with the new Precinct 2 equipment and maintenance facility for the installation and extension of an overhead single phase, and thereafter for any applicable elected offices, departments, programs, agencies from all funding sources There is a concern by the auditor. It is as to the date of the agreement. The date of the agreement reflects, I believe, when this process got started. It would be effective on today's action. AEP would naturally not bill us for or expect us to take ownership of the action prior to being paid. So that agreement must reflect today's date, as noted by the auditor's office.
So
But I do recommend action.
The agreement that's going to be executed is going to have today's date?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I need action.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 3 is requesting authority to advertise and approval of the request for bids, plans, and specs developed through project engineer Raul Cecin, professional engineer with the Hidalgo County Planning Department for Precinct 2's Gerhart Drive paving and drainage improvements.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
For Precinct 3, this is item C1. This is pursuant to action taken last week to enter into an agreement with a new provider. This, however, is Safe House Security Systems. There's 2 bills for $20, which were the prior provider that we did not have an agreement with.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
D1 is for Precinct 4. This is requesting exemption from competitive bidding under 262-024A4, a professional appraisal services.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Presentation of the scoring grid of the 3 firms that were that were graded and scored for the purposes of ranking, as I said before. This is for fair market value appraisals. This is HLH Appraisal Services at 93, Entrega Realty, and Leonel Garza at 96. Entrega is at 91. Does the court wish to rank them in the order of their scores?
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
3 would be authority for the purchasing department to proceed to negotiate an agreement with the number 1 ranked firm of Leonel Garza Jr. and Associates.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is requesting authority to advertise the construction with approvals and of plans and specs developed and drafted by project architect Mata Garcia Architects for the construction of the Lynn San Manuel Emergency Services Facility.
For approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is for WIC, acceptance and approval of the First Amendment to the current lease agreement with the WIC program to reflect name change of the lessor from A.J. Martinez LP to Jolcar LLC.
For approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The last item is F1 for the Sheriff's Department. This is presentation of the sole bid received after 3 packets were distributed, and this is for the polygraph examiner for pre-employment criminal suitability through the project number 018. This would be recommending Purpose-Driven Polygraph Investigative Consolidated LLC. There will be a correction on the contract because it says Purpose Drive, not Purpose Driven. But with that, I will ask for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, pursuant to 551 and 071 and 072, we need a motion to proceed to executive session.
So move.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 17B, pending potential litigation, no action as well. Item 17C, Thomas Fonseca et al. Versus City of West Oakland County of Hidalgo, there's no action to be taken today. Item 17D, claim of Veronica Espinosa, Judge Commissioners. I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $100.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 17E, claim of Juan L. Fonseca, Judge Commissioners. I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $126.60.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 17F, claim of Carlos Silva, Judge Commissioners. Again, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $100.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge Commissioners, there's no action on item 18 closed and 19 open session.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.